Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Moonshiners Racing presented by Depot Street Sports. I'm your host, Michael Rizzo. I'm joined with Aiden Fortney, Zachary Kendall, and Bunny. We're all here this week, ready to talk all things Atlanta. But first, before we get there, guys, how was your weekend?
Everyone's already knowing my answer, at least. It's been great. It's been probably one of the best weekends I've ever had as a NASCAR fan. I'm going to be honest. It's been a really great weekend. Uh, yeah, I'm excited to be back on the best NASCAR podcast that starts at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday in the world. So yeah, I'm excited. I just probably, like I said, probably had the best weekend of the day. No, I'm aware. I am aware. No, I'm aware. Best weekend race weekend I've had in a really long time. So I'm on cloud nine right now.
All right, sorry. He said that, and I had to plug it in because I was just happened to be watching it and listening to it. You would be the best ranter out of all of us, obviously, if you were obviously more well known. Everyone would probably clip the stuff you say. And to be fair, after last weekend or last week, we couldn't produce enough donuts for the amount of glaze that you were giving Ryan Blaney. And lo and behold, he ended up winning the race the following weekend, obviously. So maybe it was well deserved. But anyways, I'm doing good. It's pretty long. Not gonna lie, pretty long weekend because of still job searching here. So I'm doing that, and the races were kind of a mess, every single one of them, minus I guess Cup. But the only reason why Cup was long was because obviously the rain delay, which is kind of out of everybody's control, besides Mother Nature. And all in all, I'm ready to talk Atlanta because it is one of the best racetracks still. Even though that stage one had me nervous, it turned out to be very, very good.
I'm doing all right. Didn't get to see much of the racing. I'm really only here for the back end of this show and for Aiden to call me old at least twice. I am the only person that was alive the last time that we went to North Wilkesboro for a points race. Uh, so we have that. We've got some big things coming up. Stay tuned. I'll get my Depot Street plug here out of the way. Um, be on the lookout for signups for the fantasy football league again this year. We got some news about that. We'll be starting up quarter blitz, sounds like six, and at some point in the very near future, we will have a news show coming out. Big news about that coming up, and some other things for the guys that I'm hoping to get some news on next week to send out to everybody. So some big things coming, some highlights, and you was talking about clips. Maybe we can work on that very soon.
Yeah, to keep talking about the things that we do here at Depot Street Sports, that fantasy football league. I won it last year. I got the bragging rights. I won the signed jersey. It's a Joe Theismann jersey. I got it hanging up. Um, who's going to take it away from me this year? I want to know who. I mean, I came out of nowhere in that league and I won it. So,
Yeah, Rizzo got in by 0.2 points, I believe. He beat out the last guy. We're going to go with the same theme this year. It will be a signed jersey. It's going to be vintage. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with that one yet. We're still looking, but it will be a signed jersey for the winner. And yeah, just share, like, and follow.
You think that's crazy? You think
Yeah.
that story is crazy? I'm gonna tell you, just real quick. This is supposed to be a NASCAR podcast, but we're turning into fantasy football here real quick. So this past year, obviously, this is a different league than what these guys are talking about. But my brother was in the same league as me. He made the playoffs and he won the championship. But you know how he made the playoffs? Because the guy that he beat in like week 15 or whatever, like one of the last weeks to get in before the playoffs, he beat him because Brock Purdy took a knee at the end of the game against the Panthers. That's how he ended up beating him and getting it into the playoffs, and then he won the whole thing. That is just flipping nuts, and that's just what fantasy football is all about.
yeah, it
Yeah.
absolutely is
So
about some crazy stuff. That's for dang sure. Go ahead,
I
Aiden.
got
Looks like you got one too.
I got a little something wilder. Week 15 as well. The Vikings had Dan Bailey as their kicker. So I just need 1 point. All right. They played on Monday Night Football. They play like the Bears. They score a touchdown. I need 1 point and I win. That's it. And he misses the PAT. He misses the PAT. It didn't even end up mattering because like the Vikings end up winning like 13-19. So it didn't matter for them. But for me, it was like all hell just broke loose because I just lost because Dan Bailey missed the PAT on week 15. I didn't make the playoffs.
Fantasy football is fun. If you're not going to join it, you're definitely missing out. It's a good time with everyone that's involved in it. And you got to make sure you tune into the show. We talk about our picks, who we think is going to be really good that week. And if you have those players, make sure you play them. But anyway, back to NASCAR. Yeah, I had a good weekend as well. I worked all weekend. I was working at a racetrack, do stuff for drag racing for company. And so I spent the weekend at a track. It was a good time. Got back, went to go watch the Cup race, finally got to it. Of course, it was rain delayed, and I made the sacrifice of staying up late, even though I had to go to work on Monday. And I thought it was a good race. I was like, oh, yay. You know, my guy got second place, closer to win. Or so I thought he got second place. But we'll get to that here in a little bit. And before we get into the big news here at NASCAR, no, we did not plan it. The three of us did not plan on wearing a cream-colored shirt and a gray hat today. But yeah, we all are pretty much doing that, except Aiden. Aiden did not get the memo, I guess. But anyway, into the Cup Series news here. Ryan Blaney gets the win in dominating fashion. I'm going to stop talking and give it to Aiden. He'll likely talk for the next 15 minutes.
Goddamn right I will. I mean, was there any doubt that the best super speedway drafting driver in the Cup Series right now won at a drafting track? No, especially for the way that he did it. He honestly had the best car the entire night. The best car for the best driver on the entire night, let's be real. He was able to pull off moves the entire day that drivers could only dream about. Like, he just was able to just make it stick. Like, he get a run, get beside someone, and normally the other guys, you know, they'd probably need a second push, or they would get a little loose and have to fall back. That was not the case for Blaney. He made that thing stick, and he would pass cars just straight up, just going around them. It was jaw-dropping. I remember in the Snapchat group chat, I hope NASCAR's lucky I'm not a driver, because I would just talk endless shit because I was talking shit during the chat. Towards the end of the race, I was like, oh, he's so good. He's so good. He's so good. And then he'd lose the lead, and I'd be like, oh, it's okay. You can have it for a second. You can have it for a second. He's just going to give it back. And then, like, he'd just get it back in 3 laps. And I'm like, all right, yep, give me the lead back. Give him the lead back. Give him the lead back. So, yeah, that's not even talking about what I was saying. I said some stuff in the chat, like, before overtime. That's not even what I was saying to myself in my living room, specifically about the other drivers around him. There was some not great things I was saying about Carson Hocevar and Bubba Wallace. Not in that way. Not in that way. I was not saying good things about but not in that way. I was not doing that. Anyway, he just dominated. It was the most laps led by a driver at a drafting track since Richard Petty in the 80s or something ridiculous like that. 70s. Yeah, 60s, since the 60s. Yeah, that's absolutely absurd and ridiculous. He probably had the most dominating race of his career, and it's hard to top that Iowa race he had 2 years ago, but this one was probably the most dominating race he's ever had in his career.
Yeah, 1964 Daytona 500 is, to be exact, was when Richard Petty just absolutely whooped the field, and the modern day equivalent of that is what Ryan Blaney did this past Sunday into Monday. Everything, all things considered, obviously, everyone knows how great Ryan Blaney is as a driver. If you don't, you're just denying it. And, what helps the case is the fact that we all know that Ford is the third manufacturer by and large by a whole margin, whole operation-wise, driver-wise, team-wise. Ford is last, Chevy is second, Toyota is first. And he was going up against Carson Hocevar, one of the most aggressive drivers on the planet. And Bubba Wallace, who he himself is still a pretty decent super speedway racer. And guess what? None of that mattered. He led a whole bunch of laps, obviously stage 1. He drove away with his Penske teammates. Reddick tried to get up there and stop him. He couldn't do it. Blaney won the stage. And, stage 2, he just stayed up there, whereas Logano and Cindric were falling back further and further into the pack. He was up front. And as opposed to some other drivers that were up there, all it took for him was to get one shove into the corner, and he'll get the lead just off raw speed, as opposed to other drivers who had to get the lead just by getting pushed straight through the corner, obviously, and off it. And, I have something pulled up here, and I talk about, the law of averages, but this is kind of crazy. The last 36 races that Blaney's on, he has 5 wins, 12 top 5s, 26 top 10s, an average finish of 10.2, an average start 11.4, and he has 990, approaching 1,000 laps led in the last 36 races. That is completely insane, and just shows the level of consistency that 12 car has with him and Jonathan Hasler, and how dialed in that they can get. And a couple of weeks back, Aiden was mentioning how Blaney was kind of closing in on Reddick, but after this performance, he's now closing in on Hamlin too, obviously. And he's making this a 3-car battle at the end here, potentially. And, his best tracks, you could argue, some of his better tracks are still coming up. New Hampshire, Iowa. He's pretty decent at Richmond as well. So it's playing really into the 12 teams' hand, I would say. Now, obviously, he needs to continue, running good, and I expect him to do so. But it's just completely crazy, and the fact that he was able to do that, on top of the fact that it was still a very good race. It's like top 3 of the series, and a guy that dominates like that, usually people hate. Yet everybody was clicking yes on the Jeff Gluck poll. At least I did, as well, with it being a good race, because it was a fantastic race, and the guy that most deserved to win it ended up winning it. So all around, a hands down ETA performance by that 12 team.
I just want to specify again what you said. 36 races, 26 top 10s. 26 top 10s. He ran 10 races where he didn't get a top 10, and he probably wrecked out a half of those. Like, that's absolutely absurd. That's insane.
Yeah, the back end of this first 26, it's like you guys said, it is setting up so well for the 12 team. He went out, he won a race, and I'm probably the one guy that's probably pro Ford at the super speedways. I have been for a while. I don't know why I stay on that path, but Blaney is the face of the Ford camp. He is the only guy in the Ford camp. You have a few guys that can kind of jump up there from time to time, but you have not seen anything out of them all season. For me, dominating performance. I know we'll get into the Bubba topic later. I have my own opinions on that. A guy that I want to touch on here is Eric Jones. I think that he has, it's almost like he's driving for his life the last couple of months. He is getting the most out of what he's got, and that organization that has been subpar since they become legacy. But for somebody like him, I know that he's had some top 20s, a 23rd in there, but comparative to what he has been doing throughout the last few seasons, is that Eric Jones seems to be like there's a fire lit underneath him compared to where he has been, and just moving on. But yeah, you all said it. I'm going to let Aiden keep his flowers for the Ryan Blaney pick here.
Yeah, it was a great race from Ryan Blaney. And I mean, the thing is about Ryan Blaney in this season is I feel like he's been extremely quiet at the same time. Like, he's had so many good races and all those top 10s that Aiden and Zach are talking about, but he's done it quietly. Like, when has the TV literally, like, besides this weekend, because I mean, you could show a camera angle without him in it because he was leading pretty much every dang lap, but when have they even talked about him this year? Like, at the beginning of the year, and he's been quiet, but he's been quietly the best driver this year, one of, if not the best driver this year, just because of how consistent he is. Obviously, more top 10s than any of the other two guys ahead of him, and Reddick and Hamlin, but just been very consistent. Even though Ford's that obviously that third manufacturer, he's still there, and he's still, like, hey, I'm still here, guys. So you're gonna have to worry about me. And we've been saying, at least I know I have, and definitely Aiden has, the last couple of weeks, that these upcoming tracks, these tracks that have been on the schedule to end going into the chase, are all pretty good tracks if you're Ford. And what did we see? We saw Cindric up there in the race. We saw Logano up there in the race as well. We saw the RFK cars. Besides Brad Keselowski, he's been having some issues this year. But all those cars are up there consistently toward these last couple of weeks, and I'm sure it's going to stay like that because we're going to some tracks that have their names on it. Now to the topic that all the guys want to talk about because it involves my driver. So I guess it's my turn. Was the call on Bubba Wallace being below the yellow line the right call? I'm going to start off with this one just because it's my guy. I'll be honest with you. At first, I did not think it's the right call, and I actually, at first, no. I just think the rule needs to be worded differently and clarified because I feel like this rule. I get the rule. I understand the rule. It's obviously a rule you need in place. You don't need guys to go into the trial or at Daytona or at Talladega, go all the way below and all that kind of stuff there. But or here at Atlanta, it obviously cause a huge accident. I get the whole if you're forced below, it doesn't matter. But the part that is just annoying to me is if you go below the line to advance your position. He didn't really advance his position. He went from behind the 77 to next to the 77. If you're calling that advancing his position on the track, sure. If that's what you want to call it, yes. He advanced his position from behind the 77 to next to the 77 or the 12, whoever it was right there on the outside of him. He did gain a spot going into 3, but he immediately lost it. The SMT data also proved that he had 280 pounds of pressure on his brakes. So he was on the brakes and lost a position once he did that. And then he gained a position back on the front stretch when he got a push from his Toyota teammate being Ty Gibbs. That's when he finally gained it back. So my whole thing with the rule is, can we clarify the whole gaining of position? Like if you're gonna go below, all right, you can't gain the position. But does that mean position on like can he still give it up? Like what do we? I just feel like it's a gray area. This call just is one of those ball and strike calls, and we don't have a what's it called system like the MLB where you could challenge it. They call this rule one of those. Yeah, you can't top the tap of your head and be like, nah, I'm gonna challenge this one. You can't challenge this. You can't appeal this, even with SMT data. I feel like SMT data can prove this. That if he tried to give his spot up, which he did, because he was on the brakes as soon as it happened. But I don't know. What's your guys' thought on this one?
I thought it was pretty clear, actually. I'm going to politely disagree with Rizzo and tell him to fuck off because I mean, he definitely clearly went below the yellow line and he didn't really give it back up. He kind of just kept his foot in it. I don't really know what SMT data you're talking about with him hitting the brakes, but the SMT data I saw was him staying full throttle. He kind of got loose. Yeah, he lifted a little bit because he was loose, but then like he just kept his foot in it. And you said he didn't gain a position. His nose was in front of Hocevar going into 3. Like he was in second there for a second. Like he did gain a position out of it. And again, I'm not a Bubba hater. It's not who I am. In fact, I go on Facebook after every race and piss off all the Bubba haters. That's how much of a diff. Actually, it's not that I don't do that to like Bubba. I do that to hate people, to just rage bait and make other people hate me. I'm a dick. I am a horrible person. Anyways, yeah, and this week I couldn't really defend him because he definitely went below the yellow line. I thought that was pretty clear that he went below the yellow line. He gained his position, and then he just kind of kept driving. And you mentioned Ty Gibbs pushed him. Yeah, Ty Gibbs pushed him on the front stretch after we already had that whole fiasco on the back stretch. Yeah, and then like it was a really frustrating weekend for Bubba. Like it, probably going to dive into it a little bit later. Are we? I'm going to assume. Yeah, we'll dive into more Bubba stuff later because there was stuff earlier in the race, and his race as a whole just was not good for how he ran the entire night. But I thought it was a pretty clear cut rule, probably more black and white than NASCAR can get, honestly.
Well, that might be true. Obviously, you know, it always is controversial when a guy gets below that line because will they call it? Will they not call it? You know, because I could remember, obviously, now I wasn't coherent enough, obviously, when this race was going on. But I remember when Dale Jr. got blocked by Matt Kenseth, and basically he went below the apron to advance, and that clearly he advanced his position because he went from third to first, and then they didn't call it. Now, back then, obviously, they had like a rule that said, like, if you get blocked, which I'm guessing is what they deemed it as, he was there and Kenseth went down, blocked him, and he went below it to not cause a crash. But they didn't call it then, and even then, like, that's over 20 years ago, and that's kind of stupid to point out anyways compared to this, because obviously I think they look more towards like probably 2015 on, really. But yeah, I mean, we keep seeing these incidents, not really as much anymore because, you know, with the next gen car, they're gridlocked basically in every super speedway race besides Atlanta. I know Bubba said that he was very loose, and obviously if you watch the replay, he does look like he's a little sideways, but I think that's because he made such an abrasive move to get below Hocevar that it sent his car a little squirrely down that straightaway. And, you know, again, with what they said, the rule, from what I understand the word is and what they probably viewed it as, is that the words in the rule say that a competitor cannot go below it during competition. I'm guessing that's obviously they viewed it as him using it for obviously a competitive advantage, and that's what they deemed it as. And I did look it up. He could have appealed. They could appeal it to like the scoring manager or whatever for the track results and whatever after 20 minutes after the checkered flag, but they had like a meeting like 30 minutes afterwards, and Bubba came out of it and said a penalty is a penalty, so he kind of left it at that. And yeah, it was just super unfortunate, you know, for the ending that was for him, because like Aiden was alluding to, I imagine someone's going to bring it up in the points, but Bubba Wallace between stage 2 and obviously the end of this race lost probably 40 points, honestly, combined close to 40 points, because he went from being obviously top 3 to being dead last, like the last car in the lead lap, 29th. And Ty Gibbs spun him out at the end of stage 2. He could have gotten more points off of that as well, and he didn't because he spun out at the end of that stage. So it was just super unfortunate for him. And you know, we all know how brutally honest Bubba Wallace sometimes gets. He's probably one of the most honest guys you can get for an interview. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. He always will. And you know, I am not a Bubba hater, one bit. And I just expect that from him no matter what, good or bad. And obviously he was really frustrated with how things played out, on top of the fact that what happened in stage 2, you know, remember what I said, NASCAR drivers are elephants. They don't forget these things. So now maybe some drivers are better than others at forgetting stuff when stuff doesn't go their way, obviously, because, you know, you got to have a short lapse of judgment before you have to move on to the next race. Bubba, to me, seems like a guy that doesn't quite have that, obviously. He might hold on to certain things for a little bit, but obviously he needs to focus forward fast, because, again, he still needs to rack up as many points as he can, because he's plus 55 above the cut line right now. And, well, that can change in one race time. He can have a bad finish, and he could be closer and closer to that cut line. So just focus forward. I know it sucks, but you just got to focus forward here, man, and try and get the best finishes possible for that 23 group.
All right. I pulled up the rules here, and it says advancing position. If a driver goes below the yellow line to improve their position, even temporarily, they will be black flagged or penalized. Forcing below the yellow line. If a driver forces another car below the yellow line to block a pass, the blocking driver can be issued the penalty. Safety exceptions. NASCAR officials may use discreet and not enforce the penalty if a driver dips below the yellow line to avoid a spinning car or multi-car accident. No redo. Attempting to give a position back after illegally passing below the yellow line does not erase the penalty. So, I don't agree with penalizing Bubba there. I don't like it. But I think what got Bubba is where he dipped so low with the momentum that he had trying to get around Hocevar, and he attempted to make the pass. Like, it was by force, in my opinion, by the speed, by the run, whatever you want to call it. But he did not complete the pass. It was an attempt. And I think that's where the first line gets him, is where it's temporarily to improve the position. He attempted to improve his position. But I think there's a gray area there. I don't like it. I feel like there's been too many cases, like Zachary was alluding to, in history that should have been called, that wasn't called for this one instance to be deemed a situation. And I think it's going to kind of put Bubba back around the bubble to where he's going to have to fight a little bit more. And we've seen that from him year in, year out. Luckily, he's got Daytona coming up, and like we said, he's a pretty good speedway racer. So hopefully he doesn't dip down too far and can pull it out. But I do not like this call, but I can see where they're going with it.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate. He went below the line. I mean, I'm not blind. I saw him go below it, but I don't think I'm agreeing with Bunny here on this one. I will say, because you guys say he lost out on a lot of points. I counted. He lost out on 35 points between the issue in stage 2 and the finish of the race. That would put him, instead of 13th, that would put him 11th above William Byron. I think pretty much tied with whoever's right there in 11th or 12th. I'm not too sure exactly, but he'd be up there pretty high in points. I mean, I'm not too worried. I mean, of course, I am a little bit worried about the point situation. But again, we're going to a lot of tracks that he's good at. This was one of those tracks. In the spring, he went too high. In the summer, I guess he went too low. So maybe next year he'll stay right in the middle. Maybe he finally pulls this one off. But yeah. Next up, let's talk about the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. I wasn't able to catch this race, but you guys tell me it was one hell of a wreck fest that Justin Allgaier eventually got the win. Guys, how did this race go and Justin Allgaier getting the win?
Yeah, it was, oh God, it was a rough one. I'm going to be honest. This, normally we go on here and we talk about how much better the dang it. We're over halfway and I'm still doing it. How much better the O'Reilly series is compared to the Cup series. This was not one of those weekends. It was just wreck after wreck after wreck after wreck. They just kept wrecking. Got really boring. But kind of had a pretty cool finish. Definitely almost kind of saved it at the end. Not really saved. It just went from a complete utter disaster to just a regular disaster. At the finish, Allgaier won. Brandon Poole led the final lap. I'm not gonna lie, Adam Alexander yelled Brandon Poole the same way he yelled out Brandon Poole in the 2016 Talladega race when it was Xfinity. He his vocal tone and just the way he pronounced it sounded exactly like that moment. It brought me back. And I had a mini flashback for a second. And then when I came back to the flashback, he was in the wall and Justin Allgaier had the lead. So, yeah, it's definitely a weird one. I was definitely rooting for Ryan Sieg at the end of that, just because I want a stupid winner. But we got an Allgaier win instead, which is a little bit more boring. But congrats to him. He's also was he clinched already? He might have already been clinched. Yeah. Okay, he was already clinched. But Jesse Love definitely clinched this week. He's in the chase for sure now. Yeah, it's just a wild one for the O'Reilly series. Atlanta just was not a good race. It was just so many wrecks, so many.
So after what the Truck Series was at Lime Rock, I thought the Atlanta race and the O'Reilly Series was going to take my mind completely off of that, and it was kind of the same stuff, just on a different track. I thought going into it. Now I didn't catch qualifying for the O'Reilly Series. To be honest with you, I don't like watching qualifying for any series really. I kind of ignore it. I skip it, and then I'll look up who the starting grid is on Sunday for the Cup Series, and that's about it. So I didn't catch that Austin Hill was like mid-pack. But I thought going into the race, obviously everyone knows this is his bread and butter really at these type of tracks. I thought he was going to dominate, and he really didn't show up. Obviously, the first two stages really took him a little bit to get going. And I thought the first two stages were pretty decent. And typically, before I talk about it, is like I've always said and clamored that the O'Reilly Series is the best series in NASCAR. I might need to retract that a little bit. I think they have the best cars in terms of racing performance on a given week-by-week basis, no matter what track it is, road course, super speedway, short track, whatever. But they have some of the most inadequate drivers you could have up here still. They, in that stage 3, they were averaging, I think, 3.5 laps for green flag racing every single time. After every 3.5 laps, there was another wreck. And then 3.5 more laps go by, or on top of probably 4 or 5 caution laps, another wreck happens. It got to the point where obviously Jeremy Clements was on the restart, and he got spun out by the eventual winner, Justin Allgaier, because he had lost traction at the track. On the track, and he talked about it. And then Austin Hill was up there late, and I thought, and Aiden was wording, I will not repeat what he said and that he would do if Austin Hill won, but Austin Hill did not win. And after all that, somehow, some way, Justin Allgaier with a car that was dragging something on the track, because he was sparking underneath, ends up with a victory after Carson Qualful, his teammate, tried to, I guess, find a hole in between Brennan Poole and whoever else was up there. I forgot. Sorry. And then he ended up turning both of them into the wall, and Allgaier was left to battle Parker Retzlaff with no help. Very good run by Parker Retzlaff as well. Still an incredible run for Viking Motorsports. But yeah, another Allgaier win, and yeah, he had already clinched at this point, but I think he clinched the regular season championship in the series after this win. So 6 wins. I mean, and he's talked about it after the last couple of wins, how he was looking like he was going to retire after last year. He came back, and now he's thinking that he might want to run another year or two, because he keeps winning, and it's hard to walk away when you're winning like this, like he is. So good for Allgaier, but O'Reilly Series, be better, man. Be better, because that was atrocious to watch, and it was one of the most frustrating races I've ever seen.
Sounds like I missed a doozy. I saw some highlights, and I was being filled in from our group chat. You guys kept talking about the race, but yeah, it looks like I missed one heck of a race. But I also missed the truck race because I was working. Sounds like that was also just as bad as a race in terms of race quality. Grant Enfinger gets a win and yet another wreck fest. There was a fire involved. There was a bunch of speedy dry, and eventually Grant Enfinger gets a win. And I think the line Aiden said was, of course, Grant Enfinger gets the win in this race. So, guys, what about the truck race at Lime Rock? What happened there?
Yeah, it was worse. It was so much worse. Pretty much, I don't think the truck series ran a complete lap. I think every single lap someone was spinning or off the track, or there was just in general caution, or they were pacing because there was a caution. Yeah, it was just a terrible race. It was really bad. And of course, fucking Grant Enfinger wins. Great. We sat through all of that for a Grant Enfinger win. I I can list off 34 other things I'd rather be doing than watching a stupid truck series race that was dumb that saw a Grant Enfinger win. All right, like, and some of them are also like just torture. All right, Thomas, I can't pronounce his last name, catching on fire from the lead under caution was low-key the most entertaining bit. I'm going to be honest, and bro just caught on fire under caution. That was really weird and interesting. But yeah, there's nothing else to really report on with this one, because nothing else happened. It's just lazy spin, lazy spin, lazy spin, lazy spin. It just in the back. There's dust flying everywhere. There's speedy dry everywhere. And I can't harp on this enough. We saw a Grant Enfinger win. Like, that's even worse. That's kind of stuff they show to people like Otamo Bay when they're tired of waterboarding them. They put on the 2026 Lime Rock Truck Series race. Yeah, it was bad. All right. Anyways, next.
Yeah. When I was tuned in, I didn't watch the first stage and a half really of this race, but when I tuned in after that, there definitely was a truck off track every single lap that I was watching. Yeah, the guy, he was in second actually. Thomas, again, I can't pronounce his last name. I'm not gonna try because I don't want to butcher it.
Annunziata.
Okay. Yeah, Annunziata. He the previous day had won the ARCA race that he was in, and he was gonna run a Kyle Busch tribute scheme. Unfortunately, he did not get approved in time, so he had to run a different scheme. He ended up winning it, and that just makes me a little bit more upset because that would have been awesome to see that paint scheme in victory lane. But he was running second in this race. Looked like he was going to be in contention to win it, and then his truck caught on fire. He had to go to the hospital. Thankfully, he's all right, obviously. But yeah, there was just multiple guys just running guys off course, just getting into each other for basically no reason other than Gio Ruggiero, from what I saw, because he kind of cut off his teammate there and he got spun. I think it was Caden Honeycutt. Yeah, Honeycutt spun him. He cut off Caden Honeycutt, and Honeycutt said, "I'm going to turn you," and he turned him, and he kind of deserved to get turned there. I'm not going to lie. And then after all that, 40 races after his last win, Grant Enfinger ends up in victory lane again. He's kind of a forgotten veteran of this series, really. Truck Series lifer, no offense, because he doesn't have the truck championships that have Ben Rhodes, or as no, people don't like him, but Matt Crafton has. He doesn't have those championships, and he still has like 13 career wins, which is still 2 less than Matt Crafton, which is kind of funny.
Wait, people don't like Matt Crafton?
Yeah, they really don't.
What the fuck? What? Everyone's shaking their head. Wait, hold on. Am I in the dark on this? We hate Matt Crafton? What?
Well, I don't.
That's something you gotta do on your figure that one out on your own time, I guess.
Yeah,
I love Matt Crafton. Excuse me.
It's a
weird reason.
It is not only just that, I know what you're thinking of. Not only just that, but it's because some of the other stuff he was doing later in his career. I think he's kind of an unk that was washed. So, anyways, I don't hate Matt Crafton, but anyways, okay. Grant Enfinger ends up winning, and then never forget that he has that very thick accent of his every single time you hear him speak. And all in all, it looked like Lane Riggs was going to end up winning this because he dominated that first stage. Didn't happen. He got in a wreck, and Caden Honeycutt got off sequence, and that's what left him in the pack. Thankfully, he was able to come through for third, and Grant Enfinger ended up winning it, but it was just a very messy race all around Saturday for NASCAR in general, because I told you before this. I told these guys before the stream. I think we set the record for the amount of speedy dry we had to put on the racetrack, that one of the trucks had to get refilled with it because they ran out of it because they were using it so much. So all in all, man, I generally do look forward to these lower series, but these drivers, use your heads, man. Use your head.
Seems like they think they can win it on any given lap instead of the last lap. You can't win it if you can't make it to the end. And that was not something they were thinking about in these races. Moving on, let's get to news around the garage. And as always, we started off with the points. And, of course, for me, it's not loading. Here we go. Your leader in the point standings is Denny Hamlin. In second place is Tyler Reddick. In third place, closely behind, is Ryan Blaney. In fourth, we have Ty Gibbs. Fifth, Chase Elliott. Sixth, Kyle Larson. Seventh, Chris Buescher. Eighth, Carson Hocevar. Ninth, Christopher Bell. 10th, Chase Briscoe. 11th, Daniel Suarez. 12th, William Byron. 13th, Bubba Wallace. 14th, Austin Cindric. 15th, SVG. 16th, Eric Jones, the first car out. Joey Logano. 18th, Ryan Preece. 19th, Brad Keselowski. And 20th is Ross Chastain. Guys, give me 3 drivers you would like to talk about.
Yeah, the first guy I'm going to talk about is not the guy you think I'm going to talk about, because I talked about him last week. And I'm going to glaze him even more today, but later. Anyways, the first guy I want to talk about is Austin Cindric, actually. Cindric is minus 321 from the leader, but he is 20 plus points above the cut line right now. And I just wanted to shout him out real quick, because Austin Cindric was definitely a guy I was worried about this season. I thought he would be a 17th to 18th place driver at this time and would be trying to get in. Right now, he's defending a position, which is definitely shocking for me. I thought he'd have to claw and fight his way in, but right now he sits inside the cut line with only a few races to go. And we mentioned how these next few tracks are really lined up great for Ryan Blaney. These tracks are also lined up great for Austin Cindric. Cindric, I mean, Penske as a whole is really good on flat, short ovals. So North Wilkesboro, Iowa, Richmond, New Hampshire, there you go. He's won at Daytona before. He's in general good at Daytona, so we still got Daytona. Indianapolis is a bit iffy, but Roger Penske owns the track, so you never know what's going to happen there. Yeah, first shout out, definitely Austin Cindric. The second guy I want to mention is a guy that I think everyone definitely wrote off, but he didn't write back. We'll shout out Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain in 20th in points. He's climbing. Feel like not that long ago he was 24th in points, and we were kind of all saying, like, what happened to Trackhouse? What happened to Ross Chastain? Really, Ross has been running kind of decently the past few weeks, actually. Nothing crazy, but I mean, 11th at Atlanta, 18th at Chicagoland. He was not good there. 14th at Sonoma, which isn't all that bad. And then he finished 7th at San Diego, 8th at Pocono, 16th at Michigan. Like, these are decent finishes for where he's running, especially for how Trackhouse as a whole has been doing. So, yeah, shout out Ross Chastain. I mean, he could somehow get his way back in there. We'll have to see, but he is definitely improving this year and trying to prove that, he can still be a very good driver. And the last guy I wanted to talk about is a guy that has been in the media a lot because he is talking trash about a driver who is 15 points positions ahead of him. Just hates him for some reason, I guess. I don't know, because he's just a bit of a crybaby and he has really nothing forward good for him going in his career, and he just sucks. Let's go with Zane Smith, a crispy 23rd in points. How about that, bud? You are doing great. You are slipping. Holy hell.
I mean, bro's driving for front row, so I mean, front row is kind of mid. We all know it. And he is the best driver in that organization. Anyways, besides the point, okay. I do think you need to stop talking about how much he hates Carson Hocevar, though. That's who I want to talk about first, actually, is Carson Hocevar. Here he is in 8th in points. And, he's been in the headlines, obviously, a lot because of what Zane Smith said, because of his just actions. But is anyone living better than Carson Escobar right now? I really don't think at this point in his career he's thinking about a championship. He's just thinking about whenever he gets a good result and good run, obviously, he has to plug his sponsors. Chili's, they love him for it. And whatever else he has on his car. He now has a TikTok girlfriend influencer now, apparently. So there's that. He has live streams that he does every single week. I don't watch them, but I've seen some clips, and they look like they're pretty entertaining. All in all, he's kind of like that beach guy you see on the beach, just vibing. And yeah, he turns out to be a NASCAR driver. That's how I feel like he is after every single one of these races, no matter what. And maybe that's why his competitors hate him on top of the fact that he kind of just dumps them and just doesn't really care, seemingly. But is anyone living better than Carson Escobar? I really don't think so, Second up, you talk about a guy that desperately needed a good finish and got it, even though he's still near this bubble, and that's Shane Van Gisbergen here in 15th. Coming off a 6th place result. I talked about it last week. I said after that performance, I said I wanted him to make the chase, and after last week, the week before, I thought it was all over. And then he comes out here in Atlanta, which he's pretty good at Atlanta, believe it or not, and comes home with a 6th place result. And just is something that he needs to do, continue to do. And I told the podcast here is that, in order for him to make obviously the chase, he needs to grind out these good finishes. When he has good cars, he needs to keep them up there. And technically, I feel like this upcoming weekend is another good potential track for him because he was lead. I know he was lead. I mean, he was leading the Open. Okay, the All-Star Open. It's not that big. It's not as tough competition, obviously, but he still was leading it. And it does seem like he does have some speed on North Wilkesboro. I'm just saying. So these two, this past week at Atlanta, and this upcoming week are huge for him because he desperately does need to still continue to boost his points total. And after that, I'm going to go up to the top of the standings here and talk about a guy that is also quiet, but yet is putting together a pretty elite season in terms of like expectations-wise, obviously, even though he's in a Joe Gibbs car and has been for his 4 years now. It's Ty Gibbs here in 4th. He has a win, obviously, at Bristol, and that's the highlight of his season. But he has 13 top 10s, which is the same as Reddick, more than Hamlin, and just 2 less than Blaney. And that's just kind of crazy, honestly. No one's talking about him, but yet we talked about how you need to be in this top 6. And if you look at the guys obviously up here, Hamlin, Blaney, Elliott, Larson, these are champions, or at least Hamlin should be a champion, isn't, but he's a championship caliber driver. And yet there's Ty Gibbs here in 4th place, and no one's talking about him even though he's in the thick of it. And, as much as I hate the fact that we had to reset the points when the chase begins, because of that, he's going to be still closer, I think, to the lead than he is now, obviously. And no one's talking about him, is really. And I just wanted to point him out because I wanted to save one guy I think Rizzo's going to talk about here real shortly. But, yeah, Ty Gibbs, you're doing one heck of a job, and I'm not the biggest fan of yours. I never will be, probably. But yet, you are putting together a pretty decent season. And it's about damn time. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I guess I'll go next. The first guy I'm going to talk about is my Bubba. So thank you for leaving him for me, Zachary. If he had those 34 points, he'd be tied with Daniel Suarez up there in 11th. But he obviously doesn't have those points, and he's still back here in 13th spot. He missed out on a great points day, but you can look at it 2 ways. Atlanta, it's kind of maybe not so much now, but it used to be one of those tracks where you kind of ride up, where you're just trying to get to the finish, and if you're there in the end, you're there in the end. You look at a guy like Chase Briscoe, who was nowhere and then he got wrecked. Kyle Larson was up there pretty much most of the night, and he wrecked out, had a bad day. So I guess you could look at it that way, but still, it's one of his best tracks on the schedule, and it just didn't pan out his way. So hopefully that he can, ride that ship, get a good finish. He's pretty good at North Wilkesboro, and he obviously is the defending winner at Indy. It's the tracks after that where I'm looking at as well. We got Richmond coming up, running fantastic there before he had an issue on pit road. That was terrible to watch in person. And then we go to New Hampshire, which is if you look at all the tracks we have left, New Hampshire is the one track I am the most worried about when it comes not just to Bubba Wallace, but to 2311 in a whole. They do not run good there. Their brake package not good. I mean, that was the issue for them last year, was the brake package. It was at Pocono. It was there. It was at Gateway. We've been to Pocono. They didn't have issues there. They actually had solid speed. He didn't. He got caught up in an issue, but 2311 had solid speed as a whole, so maybe it'll translate when we go there. But that's just somewhere I look at. Obviously, Daytona is somewhere here where he's very strong at. And I feel like Iowa, he's solid at. I don't know if I'm missing any other track. Am I? I don't think so. So those are the tracks left, and I feel good. I feel better than I do worse. So 55 points over the cut line. I'm fine with it. Wish I definitely shouldn't be back here, but we are where we are. Next up, where I want to talk about is I want to talk about these group of drivers right here from 16th to 20th. I know it's a whole bunch, but I guess I'm the last one, so I'm going to talk about them. This battle for the last spot is going to be really interesting. We're going to a lot of tracks where Joey Logano is very good at. Joey Logano, he could win next weekend. If all of a sudden Penske besides Ryan Blaney has speed, Penske as a whole has speed, I would not be shocked whatsoever if Joey Logano is holding up the trophy at the end of the day. We also go to Iowa. We go to New Hampshire. He's been solid there in the past. Richmond, he's been solid at. Somewhere looking at. He's slow but surely making his way up the point standings. Ryan Preece, he's very good at Iowa. He's very good at Richmond. I mean, he's good at a lot of these tracks too. I feel like he's going to be pretty solid here at North Wilkesboro. I don't remember his standings as average in North Wilkesboro, but he's ran here as good as well. Brad Keselowski, the bad luck is going to stop at some point, and I would not be shocked if it starts this weekend. It's another track that has his name on it. I don't know so much about IMS, but Iowa, Richmond, Daytona, those are tracks that have his name attached to it. Maybe not so much Daytona because he tends to get caught up in accidents. And I know Aiden said, is anyone going to talk about how Brad Keselowski kind of sucks at these tracks now? Yeah, he kind of does a little bit because he gets caught up in these mistakes. But yeah, that's someone else. And then the guy you obviously talked about, Ross Chastain. That whole section from about 15th, 14th on back is going to be fun to watch these next 6, 7, 8 weeks. Well, that is all we got for the point standings here. So let's talk about this new super speedway package that NASCAR is introducing at Daytona to start. And of course, I cannot find it. Hold on one second. Alrighty. So yes, the new Super Speedway package will go from a 7-inch spoiler to a 4-inch spoiler to reduce the drag, which is the same height of spoiler that is on intermediate tracks. That's the effort to reduce drag. And doing that, there's a slight reduction in the horsepower from 510 to 465. So guys, thoughts on this being a change? NASCAR anticipates that single car runs will also have about a 3 mile per hour difference between whether or not they have a run or not. So guys, thoughts on this one?
Very interesting. I will say this is definitely a reaction to the fuel saving, the 3-wide fuel saving issues that they've been having at Daytona and Talladega, specifically Daytona, which is why they're bringing this up. Is this going to be ran? I just want to confirm with all of y'all. Is this going to be ran like in August, like this Daytona race? Yes. Okay. All right. That does change some things. That is interesting. Zachary, I know you posted a Twitter video, in the group chat that we are in, where Denny Hamlin kind of explained what NASCAR is exactly going for. They're going for Atlanta, pretty much. have what they did at Atlanta, but on a bigger scale at Daytona and Talladega. Now, how well is that going to work is definitely up to interpretation. We'll definitely have to see. It's going to be interesting with Daytona. I know we're going to give it all this hype, and then we're going to get to Daytona, and they're going to freight train on the top of the line for the entire day and make it a boring Daytona race. Would be hilarious. But yeah, I understand why they're making this change. It's a change that I think was necessary. We'll have to see the product first. Like I said, I thought it was definitely a needed change. I thought it was kind of dumb how 3 drivers can just be like, all right, we're fuel saving now, and then just hold up the rest of the field. And like, even if you were trying to go full throttle, you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. You couldn't pass the leaders just straight up if they were trying to fuel save, unfortunately. So I think this is definitely needed. I think I would have. I was going to say I would have held off till the season ended, but now that I think about it, you don't want to create a new package and it be terrible, and then you're like, "Hey, you don't want to bring out a new package, it be terrible, and be like, well, that was the Daytona 500, everyone." And so I understand why they're doing it. They announced it this week, and why they're doing it for the summer Daytona race instead of the 500. I think that makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah. They didn't say it like in the initial posting of it, but then they confirmed that they do plan on running this package also at Talladega in the chase. Assuming nothing goes wrong, obviously, and they don't see any unforeseen circumstance in this Daytona race that's coming up at the end of the regular season. Which, by the way, I did say I think we should do a watch along for that, because that race is gonna be heightenedly important, because it's the final race in before the chase. So that the chase bubble is going to be something incredible to watch. But anyways, besides the point, this package, it's been a long time coming. NASCAR is kind of in a box. We've all seen it, how they want to do cost cutting. They really don't want to tear up the car to try and fix it. So what does that resort to? That resorts to trying to fix the packages that they run on these type of tracks. And you can kind of see why they want to recreate Atlanta. Now, will they be able to do it? I'm not totally sure, because again, Talladega and Daytona are a widely different box than Atlanta is, because Atlanta is a built-in fast track. I'm not saying Daytona and Talladega aren't, but they're wider, obviously, and such. And half the battle, obviously, in these type of races, at least on these two tracks, has been fuel saving, obviously. And Aiden talked about it, how 3 guys from Joe Gibbs Racing were up front, and they just decided to fuel save, and they completely cut off the pack from passing them, and they still able to keep the lead. NASCAR doesn't want to see that happen. They tried to do something with the stages at the first Talladega race. It was a total disaster. So that's why you get the package change. And Denny Hamlin's been very vocal about it, and that's why he was on to explain what they're trying to do here. Basically, again, they're trying to take the drag out of the cars, which is the biggest complaint that drivers and fans alike have had about it, is that there's too much drag, so that when you try and go and nobody goes with you, obviously you go to the back. If everybody's going full throttle, you really can't create a third lane without actual, motivation behind it. Like, you actually need shoves from everybody. You have to be that dedicated to your lane in order to make it work. And even then, it's going to be an uphill battle if you're not in the middle or the bottom lane, which is kind of what you saw at Talladega, where everyone was just kind of glued, obviously, to the bottom and the lane above. So it sucks that, obviously super speedway racing has been like this, because it used to be some of the most favorite races I used to look forward to, was these type of tracks. But unfortunately, obviously, now you look more forward to that 1.5 mile multi-groove ovals, as he's showing off a Tony Stewart Old Spice diecast. Yeah, with the okay, I see what he's doing. Yeah, it needed changed, and you are right. You don't want to roll into next year with a completely new package, and it sucks. I think that's part of the reason why they're doing speed weeks somewhat. Now it's not like the old speed weeks where there's like 2 weeks to prepare for the 500. It's like a week. But I'll take what you can get, and they're going to test some things there as well. So we'll see where it ends up. But hopefully it is a good change. What I will say is a very terrible decision is the fact that they're still not giving these teams practice for this new package. So basically, you're going to start the race cold, trying to learn it, trying to see if it's going to be any different. Are these drivers and these teams? That I do not agree with. But we all know how NASCAR feels about practice. They really just want to make these events, let's be honest here, like a day and a half. So that's qualifying, and then that's the race right then and there. That's what they basically want to do, and I think that's wrong. But we'll see with this new package what it's going to be like at Daytona.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I think that once we see what is put on the racetrack, we'll be able to tell. And then I had a little bit of a comedy bit here. I think there should be small spoilers, big spoilers, round spoilers, car tomorrow spoilers. I personally think that we need a vast majority of spoilers. Some people like them big. Some people like small spoilers. You can't just never tell. So a world to where we have options. We'll go with the word options. It's the best case scenario.
Yeah, I hope this works out. I really do, because Atlanta puts on a fantastic race each time it's on, and I feel like this is a step in the direction of where they might go next year. I feel like I know, Aiden, you kind of brought like, oh well, I guess they don't want to just start at the 500 kind of thing, but they're still doing that NASCAR Thunder, if you will, where they're going to practice a whole lot before the 500. I think this is just a step in the direction where they want to go, and they're just kind of live testing it at this track. And maybe their simulations show that this can be a whole lot better. I don't know. To me, though, like a 3-inch decrease in the spoiler and like 50 less horsepower, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I feel like you're gonna have to do a lot different, a lot more to really make it noticeably different. Because I mean, these cars are gonna go slow with 465 horsepower. Like it's gonna take them a while to get going, like wound up. So if we get a green, white checkered, it's gonna be really drag. I think it's gonna drag even more, just with how like the drag is gonna be with 465 horsepower. I don't know. I mean, if this works out and that the third lane can form and there can be actual passing rather than it being on the crew chiefs when you want to pit, when you want to do this, when you want to do that, and it's more like what we saw before this car, that's a win. But I feel like we need to really do more. And you know what? I'm trashing it. We haven't even seen it yet. So when it comes to Daytona, if it puts on a good race, maybe they tweak it a little bit more, but maybe they don't. But hopefully it's in the right direction. Next up, we're going to go to our awards ceremony, our top shelf of the week and hangover of the week. I go first in this one. And top shelf, I'm going to give it to, man, I mean, I want to give it to somebody, but I'm going to leave that somebody for someone special here. Don't worry. So I'm going to give mine to, wow, anyone who stayed up to watch that race, because everyone who stayed up and actually watched the race, they saw a really good one. And if you missed it, you missed out, because it was a pretty dang good race. So, Aiden, I know who you're going to give it to.
Yeah, of course. You said a special guy made me feel like I'm a 4-year-old, but yeah, I'm going to give it to the best damn driver in NASCAR. I'm giving it to Ryan Blaney. I mean, who else? I mean, led the most laps, won both stages, won the race in exciting fashion, got payback for what happened in the 2024 race. So overall, a perfect day. He didn't get the fastest lap to get the perfect point sweep, but hey, it's still a great race. And now he is closing the door on Tyler Reddick and Denny Hamlin. And as Tony Stewart once said, he ain't going to be sleeping for the next few days. All right, because I'm coming. And that's exactly what's happening with Ryan Blaney right now, because he is coming. He is coming.
He is what? Time. No, in all seriousness, he's like the Jaws, the shark that with the music that's about to pounce on his prey. Because he is getting close and close. Anyways, top shelf for me is gonna be a wacky one, honestly, because I'm not picking a driver. I'm gonna pick an individual group that thoroughly enjoyed, obviously, this past weekend because of what the O'Reilly race and the Cup race was doing. So the top shelf for me is going to be the all-nighters, the fans of NASCAR that like to stay up all night and watch nothing but races, because this past weekend was nothing but that. You saw a bunch of wrecks that kept you up for the O'Reilly race, and then you saw the Cup race, the stage one that was ran. Looked like Penske was going to dominate. Then you got the rain. You had to wait 3 hours. We got it back started up and finished up at 1:30 in the morning. If anyone remembers the 2012 Daytona 500 like I do, that was kind of epic to do, to stay up and watch that. Unfortunately, my guy Junior finished second that day, so that was a little upsetting, even though I didn't catch the finish of that. Anyways, besides the point, you got to stay up and watch a race that was fantastic to watch, top to bottom. Obviously, even with the dominant car that Ryan Blaney had, it was epic. It was one of the best races of the season. It was well worth the wait to finish it off. I'm glad NASCAR decided to go the distance, and we didn't have to run against a timed clock, because that would have been disastrous. So yeah, the all-nighters, you finally got one. You finally got one that was near 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, my top shelf this week, I'm going to give it to Austin Dillon, top 10 this week. I believe it's his third, maybe fourth top 10. I think it's his third top 10 of the season. He's had some luck at the super speedways in the past, but with what RCR's been putting on the track, good race for him.
Some good picks there. Zachary, you pretty much chose mine, so I don't know about that one. But moving on to Hangover of the Week, I got to give it to my guy, Bubba Wallace. I mean, what a hangover he's going to have after that one. Getting wrecked in the stage 2, pretty much, and then I think you're getting a second place finish, and then, you don't. So, yeah, that's definitely a hangover there. So, guys, what's your Hangover of the Week?
Okay, so real quick, repeat your hangover of the week, because I did not pay attention.
Mine was Bubba Wallace.
Okay, damn it, I was going to pick Bubba Wallace. Give me the lower series. Give me the O'Reilly series and the Truck series as a whole. Because we have made fun of the Cup series. We have said several times the O'Reilly series is better, and they just simply did not prove that at all this week. And I was really disappointed with the race. I thought it would be a good race. Just turned into a wreck fest. Austin Hill got taken out, so I was really happy. I texted the chat that I was going to do something terrible if Austin Hill was going to win, that I will not repeat. And thankfully that didn't happen, so I didn't have to do that terrible thing. But race was still awful. The Truck Series race was even more worse. It was also equally as terrible. Actually, no, it wasn't equally as terrible. It was more terrible. It was more terrible. If the O'Reilly series was diarrhea, all right, the Truck series was bloody diarrhea. Like you didn't know it could get worse. It did. It was worse. So yeah, it was really bad.
I myself am looking towards the lower series, but not the whole operation. I'm looking at one guy and one guy only. And there's a whole expression in NASCAR, checkers or wreckers. But this guy has been basically wreckers with just a few sprinkled in good runs, even though he still is top 12 in points. Sam Mayer here in 31st position. This guy had a front row spot to start out. He qualified really good. Seemed like he was going to be in position to get some stage points, some much needed. Good day. And then in the first 25 laps, he hit the wall, cut a tire down, had a pit, went multiple laps down, Similar to what happened to him a few weeks back, I think, where he went multiple laps down and ended up having to regroup, and he actually ended up getting back on the lead lap and getting a good finish there. I don't remember what that was. But here, he got back on the lead lap, and as soon as he got back on the lead lap, he got caught up in a restart stack-up crash that destroyed his radiator. That relegated him to a 31st position in Atlanta. And all in all, he's a veteran of the series still, technically. He's not as wise and as obviously good as Justin Allgaier, but he is still a veteran of the series, even though he's 23 years old only. But yet, it was a very rough showing for that 41 car, especially when it started out so promising with him on the front row, only for him to get into the wall himself, driver error, and then get up and a restart stack up. So, definite hangover for this week.
My hangover of the week, I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. Back-to-back weeks, finishing outside the top 30. I had an opportunity to keep things close in the points standings. Right now, he's sitting just inside 200 points out. Larson, I believe he's out of the running for the regular season for sure now. Needed some help going forward, but give me Kyle Larson this week for another bad performance.
Some good picks, guys, there. So let's move on to Aiden's diecast of the week. Aiden, I feel like you missed a prime opportunity. You picked Ryan Blaney a week early.
I did. I did kind of blow my load with that. Not even hiding that one. Anyways, definitely showed off a Ryan Blaney diecast a little bit too soon. And this new segment, I don't really want to repeat a driver. So we're going with a new driver today. Have not showcased this guy yet. Is probably a good thing because this is episode 3 of doing this. If I would have already started repeating drivers, that would kind of be really bad. I'm not gonna lie. But we're racing at North Wilkesboro this week, and who was the last guy to win a points-paying race at North Wilkesboro? Jeff Gordon. And we are showing off Jeff Gordon's 2015 final race car. He ran at Homestead in 2015 in the finale. He had a shot at the championship. This is not the championship card. There is no yellow banner on the roof, but it's still one of the better diecast cars. Also, fun fact, this is the NASCAR Authentics line for Lionel. This was in Lionel's first NASCAR Authentics line. Before that, it was Spin Master who did the cars. The cars were, I probably should have got one while doing this review to show off. The cars were fatter and bulkier and really weren't that great of a quality, but they were only $5, and I think they were still worth it. But yeah, this was Lionel's first wave of the Authentics line, and it was a pretty good one. I think they did a really good job on this car. I know it's hard to tell on camera, but that the silver is shimmering. It is shining. When I put a light through it, you can really see the sparkles and dots in the car when it really does go. So this has always been one of my favorite Lionel Authentics cars because they probably did this back when they, still kind of gave a fuck. Yeah, this is one of my favorite diecasts, and that's my diecast of the week.
Good diecast there. I think I have the same one upstairs somewhere. Next up, do we have any questions from the viewers? No questions from the viewers. All right. Well, if that's the case, then we'll go to Zachary's Guess the Driver. Oh, wait, I'm wrong. We're actually going to go to our picks and predictions. I skipped ahead there. But first, let's go to our picks from last week, see how we finished and who's picking first.
Well, last week at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Echo Park, you had winning the week with Carson Hocevar. That would be Rizzo. Second place, you'd have Zachary with Cindric in 14th, Aiden Suarez in 21st, and I took Zane Smith and finished 30th. Going to North Wilkesboro, none of the drivers that are in the field has raced at North Wilkesboro for a points paying race. So I'm going to take the young gun that had some luck earlier this year at a short track and got his first win. Give me Ty Gibbs.
That's a pretty good pick. I was frustrated that Daniel Suarez unfortunately didn't really do well. Definitely a little annoyed after that one. Actually, Daniel Suarez was the one that got into the back of Zane Smith and spun him out. So really, my guy wrecked your guy to not finish in last. Thank you, Daniel. You can do it again. Anyways, my guy has been really hot recently. He's been on fire. He had arguably the race-winning decision at Atlanta, and he chose to push Ryan Blaney. He's finished second the last 2 weeks. He has one working wrist, and he's won at North Wilkesboro before. Remember, that's a big deal too. He's won here before. It was an all-star race, but give me Christopher Bell for a points-paying race.
Dang, everyone's going for like the heavy hitters, I feel like. So I mean I have a couple in the chamber. But I don't feel like I want to use them. So because of that, I'm gonna look deep into the bag here. And this guy had a good run there. Finished second at Michigan. And, kind of has gone lost in the shuffle here. Still, I think had a decent result this past weekend in Atlanta. So give me Eric Jones.
Some good picks there. I'm going to go with the guy who has also won here. Give me Joey Logano. Joey Logano. I just have this feeling that Joey Logano is going to show up randomly, and it's going to be this race right here this weekend. He does that occasionally. And when it's going to a track for the first time or a first-time event at a track, tends to win it. First-time points-paying race in 30 years. It just seems like Joey Logano is due. So give me Joey Logano. Next up, now we'll go to our predictions here. What do you guys expect for this race? For me, I don't know. I really have no idea what we're going to get ourselves into here. It's produced some solid racing in the all-star races the last couple of years. To finally get all 36 cars on there. There might be more. I didn't look at the list to see if anyone knew other was going to be involved in this race. But to get 36 cars on the track, it's going to rubber up well. I think it's going to race pretty good. The short tracks have raced not so great in the next gen era, but this track kind of is that outlier to me, at least. It has been some good long runs there, but it's just been really racy, and I think we get more cars on there. The track might widen out a little bit, and we're going to see a solid race. It's good to go back to a track that's part of the roots, the grassroots style of NASCAR, and I'm glad we're going back to it for a points-paying race. I hope it's a good race so that maybe it could stay on the schedule as a points-paying race. So, guys, what's your thoughts for this one?
Yeah, I'm excited for this race. You also got to think when North Wilkesboro was the All-Star race, it's improved every single year. The track as a whole has gotten better over time, and I think it could get a lot better, especially having 36 cars on the track this time around. You saw what the racing can be good during the All-Star race, but a big factor with short tracks is honestly lap traffic. It can create some interesting racing, some interesting dynamics. Drivers having to change their lines for lap traffic. Lap traffic could even get involved inadvertently and cause changes from the lead, from all over the racetrack. So that being added, I think can boost this short track experience. I know Rizzo just said a second ago the short tracks with the next gen really haven't been that good, but North Wilkesboro has put on some decent showing so far, and I think more cars on the track is going to improve that.
Okay, before I go and give what I think about it. I looked it up. I looked back. I made a mistake. I actually have taken Eric Jones before. I took him at Talladega. So give me, scratch that name off, obviously, and give me Ross Chastain. And as that's done, when it got introduced back on the schedule as the All-Star race, obviously the event, and it's in a market where obviously there's going to be a ton of NASCAR fans. There's going to be, it doesn't seat a whole lot of fans, I don't think. I don't remember exactly. It's not a lot. Anyways, that's not the point. The point was to get it back on the NASCAR schedule. It is. And after the promise it had delivered over the last 2-3 years, what Aiden said, how it improved year over year, that got it enough push to give it a points race again. And now here we are. It is a unique track, obviously. You take a very unique line, really. You can run the top, but a lot of the guys typically actually no. There's a multiple grooves you can actually run on this track, but typically, what you want to do is probably run the bottom, very bottom. If you can, you grip it around like the rumble strips or whatever that's down there to get speed off the corner. That's going to matter a lot. Corner exit speed, honestly. And whoever has the best car setup for that I feel like is going to be a real threat, obviously, for the win. And the track is so abrasive, it will wear the tires out. And that is going to be interesting to watch as well, considering that I think this is 450 laps or something like that. And then lap traffic is also going to play a big, massive factor into this because, as opposed to the All-Star race where there's half the field, this is going to have the whole field. So you'll probably catch the back of the field in 30 laps. Maybe less than that, honestly. So I'm really looking forward to this. It should be interesting to watch. And, whoever can take care of their stuff, obviously, which might play into the factor of Denny Hamlin because he does do so well at that. But at the same time, we've seen Penske have very good cars on these type of tracks. So all in all, it should be one heck of a showdown between those top dogs.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to come down to who can maneuver the traffic the best. With 36 cars on the track, it's going to be worse than Bristol. You're going to catch up to them. You're going to be in the back of the pack on every restart. It should put for some exciting racing. I always liked North Wilkesboro back in the day. But with that being said, it's a whole new world. New cars, new track, new drivers. Will we see things that we used to? I don't know. But I agree with Zachary. I think it's going to put some of the Penske cars, Hamlin, some of your veterans. I really like the Logano pick at this track. I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see Keselowski kind of make a run here. I do like him on some of these older tracks. But I was looking at the entry list for the Truck Series here. Give them a little bit of a shout out. I think this is going to be the Christopher Bell, Corey Haim show. I think we're going to see those two dueling it out the whole race, and it's going to be exciting to watch. Personally, out of the two, I want to see Friesen pick up a win with C. Bell. You do have Elliott in the field, and you do have SVG. I think this is a good decision to put SVG in the field for the Truck Series race, especially coming down the pipeline here at the end of the season, him trying to make it into the Cup Series playoffs. Great move with Spire. Get him some track time, and let's see if it pays off on Sunday.
I'm looking forward to this weekend. It's going to be a good one. All right, so that leaves us with the last topic, that being Zachary's Guess the Driver. Zachary is not here at the moment, so we're going to delay that. But I do want to – oh, no, he's back. So, Zachary, you guess the driver. Do we have one that we might know this time? Last week was easier. I will say that.
Yeah. I feel like I think you've heard this guy around.
We need Aiden on the screen so he's not Googling his answer. Rizzo's muted. He's just throwing his hands up.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm not looking up anything.
I got 4 screens going. None of them have any drivers on them.
All right. So yeah, I think you guys have heard of this guy before. I would believe, obviously. So we'll see how it's gonna go with this. All right. To start it off, obviously, this driver was born in Rockbridge, Virginia. He is a part of a racing family, as both his father and uncle were race team owners. But it does not know, from what I can tell, it does not know the name of those race teams, but they were race car owners.
In NASCAR or different series?
Different series.
Okay.
They didn't have enough money to get the NASCAR. So, all right. This driver's first race car actually came when he traded in a cow. You heard that right, a cow for a car. He stayed driving at his local tracks for roughly a decade before he got noticed from some other teams to come drive in the Busch Series, which he began in 1982. He won his first race in 87 at Dover. He would go on to win 9 times in the O'Reilly Series. His debut in Cup came after Buddy Baker got hurt, and he had a substitute for him at Bristol. That was in 88. His best finish, though, in points in Cup was only 18th, as his team did not have resources or the capabilities to outrun the Bill Elliott's, the Rusty Wallace's, the Dale Earnhardts of the world, obviously. And he struggled with sponsorship. Despite that, he nearly won the 1989 Daytona 500 in an unsponsored car. He finished 6th. His team didn't want to risk running out of fuel, and that relegated them to a 6th-place finish. However, he calls it his most accomplished moment of his driving career. This driver had to retire prematurely because he suffered carbon monoxide poisoning from the cars that he drove all those years. In his retirement, this driver now runs an environmental company.
What year did he retire?
He retired, I think, in 2011. Yeah, 2011. Oh, wait. No, mind. Scratch that. That's another guy. That was my last guy. My bad. He retired in 2002.
That makes more sense.
All right. I got more. This driver won the inaugural pole award at the Brickyard in 94. He was a stunt double for Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder at Daytona. Not many numbers that he drove. He drove the number 75, the number 98, and the number 1.
Dick Trickle?
No. And my last clue, it is not the initials, but I feel like this might give it away. Because I do recognize this scheme. Most famous scheme of all, the number 1, Skoal sponsor.
Oh my!
I remember the car. I can see the car taking the lead in Indy. I know the car.
Look at him. He's looking at trying to find the car.
The number 1 Skoal car?
Yep.
Rick Mass?
That is correct.
Dang it!
I'm so mad. I knew the car. I knew. I can see. I can see that Indianapolis race. I can see the lap 1. It is playing in my head right now. I know exactly what it is. I just
I was hung
remember.
up more on number 75.
Yeah. I figured the skull hint would probably, that would trigger something in someone's mind, try and figure it out. He originally wasn't going to be my original pick, but, when my brother here, when I told him who originally it was, he's like, you should change it because he doesn't think you guys are going to get it because it was going to be really hard. It was like a starting park driver.
Oh, why would you give us that?
He ran in NASCAR. Number one answer.
If you're gonna give us a starting park, like make it in the 21st century,
I think this guy ran in like early 2000. I was like, he ran when he ran it, and then he just kind of went away. So yeah.
The number 75 was the Remington car. Shout out to Kyle on that one.
Yeah, so yeah, he wasn't really going to be my pick, but then I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I think Rick Mass would be a good decision to do. Kind of overlooked driver, obviously not that much success in the Cup Series. Again, 9 wins in O'Reilly though, and he did his job for what the equipment was allowing him to do, honestly. So all in all, and I think his number one skull scheme is still really good. So I thought, yeah, why not do him?
Good pick. That is a good driver to showcase. I honestly was not close. It was not someone I was thinking of. I was still stumped on at the end there when you gave us the clue there. But yeah, overall, good pick there. Good driver to showcase this week. Guys, anything else you'd like to add before we end the show this week? Looks like no. So that'll do it from all of us here at Moonshiners Racing, presented by Depot Street Sports. We'll be back next week talking all things North Wilkesboro, and then getting you ready for IMS at Indianapolis, the Brickyard 400. We'll be back. We'll see you guys next week. I'm your host, Michael Rizzo, joined with Aiden Fortney, Bunny, and Zachary Kendall. See you guys next week.